Oh, hello. If you're watching this, then you're probably going to be doing a Socratic seminar today. I'd like to talk to you for a few moments about what that is and what it entails. A Socratic discussion is a structured discussion in which students and teachers can exchange ideas in a respectful and meaningful way. Socratic discussions can be done in English class, science class, history class, and even math class. You might be wondering, Mr. Gavin, what do I have to do to prepare for such a Socratic seminar? Well, the first step is to read something. Your teacher will take care of that. The second step, do like I'm doing here. Write a few questions down. Who is Voldemort? Good book. So you might be wondering, how does the Socratic discussion work? Let's find out. Turn it down here. In the middle, we have the talkers. This circle. They'll be the ones actually conducting the discussion. On the outside, the listeners, the note takers. They're going to observe the discussion. Don't worry, they'll get a chance to talk too later. Over here, we have the moderator, aka the teacher. They'll be monitoring the discussion to make sure that it doesn't go off the tracks. Oh, hello. I know at this point, you're probably all thinking that you're eager to see one of these Socratic discussions in action. No problem. What you're going to notice in this next clip is that there's teachers from Digital Harbor High School talking about the Book of Mice and Men, talking about setting, talking about characters, talking about plot. What you'll notice is that Miss Veltri starts off the conversation. She talks for a little while. Mr. Ball wants to raise his hand. He jumps right in. Some other teachers want to contribute. A conversation evolves. That's key. We don't want one person hogging the spotlight. We don't want others cutting each other off. Let's go ahead and watch that clip.
You have this beautiful setting, and then you get this image of these kind of downtrodden people who may or may not be put together were it not for the similarity of their economic situation. And then, you know, Lenny comes out, like you can tell that he's, you know, there's something wrong with him. But you can also tell, even though George talks to him harshly, yeah, like he calls him a crazy bastard, page 4, middle to the bottom. And Lenny just, you can almost picture him like, you know, his eyes going down, and I tried not to forget, honest to God I did, George. And like, but for some reason, like they're still together, and this person, no matter how he talks to him, cares for him. So it almost contrasts that beautiful, warm, like this, that, the other, changes it, and then brings it back and makes it more personal.
Okay. Again, I think in the circle, what you did, I believe just now, is application of the text, right? Now, what do you think she meant? That's the way I run mine sometimes. So you just gave us your explication of the text. Now, what do you think she meant?
I think she brought up the point that it's interesting to see the peacefulness of the setting when we know that there's racial tension going on, and we know that there's discrimination based on class, based on race, based on gender. And I think she was just pointing that out. You have this beautiful setting, and then you have the contrast to that. And we realize there's a problem right away, not just with Lenny, but there was a problem where they came from. It's not clear, crystal clear at first, but we start to see how that conflicts with this beautiful, serene setting.
Why? I mean, why does it conflict with the beautiful setting? For example, I don't, you know, wars go on, and initially they start maybe in beautiful settings. Why does it conflict? I mean, the beautiful setting is there.
So you're asking why can't beauty be problematic? Why can't beauty have its flaws? Is that what you're getting towards?
That wasn't where I was
Oh,
going, but I'm
okay.
with you now.
Okay.
I'm with you now.
Okay.
I was.
Because otherwise,
my thing is
why
going
I'm
to
like,
be
well,
it's
you know,
here's the beauty,
Steinbeck put that in there
and
to
ugliness comes in.
highlight the problems that because it's kind of surprising given the serenity of the setting. But then I thought maybe you were going with the beauty of chaos.
No, what I'm trying to go with is simply why questions. I don't know.
Right.
You do. You do. You do. I want to hear that. I don't know.
Can I ask a question? Well, you go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Wine. Follow me over here. What you'll notice about that last clip you just saw is that it wasn't any moderator owning the discussion. It wasn't any moderator asking questions or telling people what it is they should be answering. Instead, what you saw was a couple people just having a chat, just having a good old conversation. You ask a question, I answer it. She asks a question, he answers it. Maybe you raise your hand, teacher will tell you whether you should do that or not. No problem. Just a bunch of chill dudes having a talk. Fascinating. We're going to watch another clip now. What I'd like you to do is think about getting your nod on. What I mean is, oh, that's an interesting point. Oh, I like what you just said. Think about listening and think about demonstrating that you're listening to those around you. The key to a Socratic discussion is respect. Another key is making sure that you're actively participating in the discussion. Flip through pages in your book. Find a quote that might back up what you're trying to say. Find a quote that refutes someone else's point that you disagree with.
Characters. Who is a better friend, George or Lenny? And Mr. Sass, we have yet to hear from you.
I think a bigger question and a more permanent question here is what is the definition of a friend? Before you can ask who's better, I think we need to have some sort of definition of what it means to be a friend and what kind of relationship they can provide to other people.
I was thinking about that
Yeah, go ahead.
as well with the definition of a friend and thinking more that how a friend needs to make intentional acts, sometimes even putting their own needs aside for someone else, and to make an intentional act. I don't know if Lenny's capable
Right.
of doing that. So I'd agree with you. It's hard to be able to answer that question, considering that they are two very different people.
Would you draw a distinction between a companion and a friend?
I would.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Lenny is a fine companion. I think, again, there has to be like a deliberate action on the part of a friend, and I don't know if Lenny is capable of making a deliberate friend action.
I think he is unconsciously a friend. I think he is unconsciously caring, but he's limited in how far he can critically think on those things. Like, I think George, he has this maybe struggle within himself of somehow he cares for this guy. For whatever reason, for whatever, he cares for him, but then he's also aware of what other people perceive of him as he cares for this other person.
Just to play devil's advocate, I can name a moment when Lenny did make a deliberate act of being protective. That's when chapter 4, when Crooks says, George isn't coming back. Like, you're not going to see George again. And then Lenny starts saying, what happened to George? Did you do something to George? And he actually starts to threaten Crooks. So there is that protective nature, but I mean, at the same time, it's the protective nature that like a 10-year-old would show or something. It's, I'm going to beat you up. So I think the point is well made that Lenny doesn't have the capability to be a friend to the same high degree that George is capable.